Hi, I'm Maddie. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be diving into selling at markets with your small business. Whether it's your first market ever or you've been doing this a couple times and you just need some new ideas, you're bound to get something out of this video. This might just be my regional area, but I feel like markets are actually becoming just like more and more popular. More of them keep popping up. And while markets can be complicated and there are cons, I don't think they're going away anytime soon. And they can be a great way to get your new business on its feet, or if you have an online business to get to a new audience. I am going to assume for this video that you're selling something like apparel versus like fresh food, because those are two really different experiences, and I can only speak to my experience selling apparel and art. I first want to clarify what kind of market we're talking about because there are multiple varieties out there. I'd say there's pretty much like two different kinds. The most common is something like a farmer's market where you pay a booth fee to set up for the day or for a couple hours. Usually it's outside. And then whatever you make money wise is yours. You're not paying a cut to the organizers or anything. You just paid upfront for your booth. And you also have to man your booth the entire time. You handle all the monetary transactions. Then there's this second kind of market that's less common, but I feel like they're becoming more common. And that's where you set up a booth for a fee. And then they also take a cut because you basically set up your stall. Everything has to be marked, all the prices on it within their system. And then they run it for you for hours, days, weeks, even. And they do all the transactions for it. This is nice because customers can like make a basket of like a bunch of different stuff from different sellers and only have to check out once. They also just like take more work up front as a vendor because you have to do all this setup beforehand. And then also, like, if things are selling out, you don't really know unless you check in with them. Like I said for this video, I am going to stick to talking about the first, this farmer's market, run your own booth, you're handling all the transactions type. I think it's super interesting to talk about the pros versus the cons of doing a market. I think there's some obvious ones that people can guess and then some that you just like wouldn't think of. Oh my gosh. The number one pro of a market to me is the fact that people come to markets expecting to spend money and expecting to shop. It's like they're coming to a store. This is different from like using social media or even using commercials where you are inserting yourself into people's like experience and they're not ready to shop or not wanting to shop at the time. But people are coming to a market to shop, which means you don't have to like market yourself to them. They're coming there to see you. Second pro is that people are also usually coming to shop something unique and from small creators. Just like any store, it's a pro that people can like feel, touch, try on all the wares versus when you're buying online, they can't do that. And finally, you can connect with your community, see people's live reactions to your product. That is really fun. And then you just find loyal customers. People are a little more dedicated if they've met you in person. Okay, here are my cons. Markets vary a lot, and success at them is just not consistent. Second, the amount of people viewing your product is quite small compared to something like social media. So only being exposed to people in your immediate area who easily could just like not be your ideal customer. Third, they require a lot of time, prep, and can be socially and mentally exhausting. And fourth, some of them are expensive and you very much risk not getting your investment. To give my personal background with markets, I pretty much only sell at one. I've tried many others, but I pretty much consistently only sell at one, and it's my local farmers market. And I have history with them going back like 6 years. They had kind of just started when I also went there selling a complete different thing. I was selling embroidered wall art. To be honest, my stuff kind of sucked. My first time I went, I didn't have a table, I didn't have a tent. I was a college student. All I had was a blanket, and then I had a cork board where I hung up my hoops. And that day, I think I sold one for $20, which did cover my booth fee back then. I came back a couple years later, still selling embroidered art, and still I didn't have a tent. At least I had a table this time, though. And I actually had a crazy successful day. I sold almost all my art, and so I actually didn't end up ever going back because I literally had sold 2 years worth of art. That was very special. That's not very normal, but I lucked out that day, I guess. Now I go and I have a tent and I have lots of equipment and I sell apparel mostly. These days I make between $1,000 and $1,500 every time I go to my market. The market itself has grown so much in the past 5 years, like it has exploded and the sidewalks are packed. It gets way more competitive to even get a spot in it. The meat of this video, let's get into my tips. My advice on how to have successful market days, how to find good markets, how to be ready for them. Number one, be picky and value your weekend time. The biggest warning I give about markets is just how much time they're going to take. Most take place on the weekends, and they can easily eat up 4 to 8 hours of your Saturday. Even when they're over, I come home so exhausted that like I can't do anything else that day. And if you're running your business full time already, spending your Saturdays at markets is just a huge sacrifice, which is why I recommend being very picky about the markets you participate in. You do not want to burn yourself out. My second tip is to watch out for market spam. I got a lot of Instagram messages asking me to like set up shop in a parking lot of a grocery store or like the dead end mall in my town. People will leave and or hand you advertisements for their markets even at other markets. They're doing their job. They're trying to start something. I don't blame them, but usually these are not the markets to sell at. Because it's like I want that market to succeed, but also like I can't burn out doing markets that lead to nothing. And that's like the number one thing I see people say is that they're going to just like these terrible tiny markets and they're like I don't know what am I doing wrong. The only thing you're doing wrong is just going to the wrong market. And I want you to understand why going to something small isn't going to work. Imagine only 1 in 10 people walking by has the interest to stop and look at what you're selling. That's kind of a generous number honestly, but let's say 1 in 10. Let's give it a more generous number. Say 1 in those 10 likes what you sell enough to then buy something. You would need 200 people to walk by or to come to even this market at all for you to make 2 sales. And getting 200 people to come to an event at all is kind of a feat in itself. So when it comes to picking a market, ideally you can go visit it beforehand. Maybe it happens every week and you can go check it out before you commit to being a vendor. If that's not plausible, which is likely, a lot of markets only happen like once a year maybe. Good sign for a market is that there is like competition to actually be a vendor there. I will say just because they're recruiting doesn't discount them automatically. One of my best markets I was recruited for, but it can be a red flag that they're kind of desperately searching for people to be in it. Genuinely, I would just try to do a mix of these. Like go try new ones, but also like you haven't really tried a market until you've tried a good market. Don't give up on markets until you've tried a good market with like tons of people at it, okay? I think that's where I'll settle on that advice. Third, your prices need to be impulse friendly. Most people come to a market with no intention to spend more than like $20. Especially if it's like a farmer's market, a lot of people come to like buy produce and buy food and maybe buy a cute little art print or something. So if you are trying to sell high value items, markets are already going to be kind of hard. You might get a lot of nice comments and you might get some leads, but like don't expect anyone to be walking away with your $200 piece of art. I really saw a huge difference in sales when I started selling t-shirts instead of just my sweatshirts. My sweatshirts, were like $60. My t-shirts I could sell for $20. And $20 is a great impulse purchase for a t-shirt price. So not everything has to be impulse friendly, but ideally you have at least something, stickers, prints, art, something that is cheap that people who impulsively like your work will want to get. Fourth, give incentive to buy in person. This one pairs up right with the last one. If your customers can get the same price online for your stuff, they're more likely to walk away. So at these markets, you do need to give a decent discount and you need to make it clear it's a market discount. Don't just say the lower price and that's the lower price. Say, oh yeah, today at the market, it is this price instead of this. Maybe you don't sell online yet or at all, but you can always make the discount feel special by naming it after the market itself. Say, oh, the discount today for the Beehive Market is 20%. I've also in the past given online discount codes for inventory I couldn't physically bring to the market. Like I just have way too many designs, so I couldn't bring everything, but I had a little catalog made and I brought the catalog and people could look at it. And then I would also give them a discount code so that they could then go order that item at the market price. 5, make your booth fun if you can. I was just thinking about this local artist at my farmer's market who does 5-minute portraits. She has her other art displayed and people like shop that too. But she does so well with like those $10 portraits. She has like so much interest that people like make a waiting list basically and she texts people when it's their turn to come. And I'm pretty sure it's the main thing she sells. And then other people also grab her other art sometimes. Adding an interactive element like this is just so fun. Like when people go to a farmer's market, usually they're looking to have like a fun Saturday outing. And so being able to offer that with your booth somehow is a great idea. 6, ideally you're going to have a display that is arm's distance from the sidewalk. I'm not sure how to explain this really other than just like tell you about my example. So usually you have your wares all tucked under your booth and some markets can be really strict about this. I used to have my stickers and postcards on like a table display and they just never They never did well. This summer, I thrifted a postcard stand and I filled it with my state postcards. And then I made sure everything was labeled. And then I set it up right outside my booth. It was not under it, it was right as close to the sidewalk as I could get it without it causing problems. I've literally always struggled to sell paper goods until this postcard stand. So many people stopped because they saw Utah or Michigan on my little sign, and then they could see the postcards right there and they could examine them without having to like commit to going into my booth. A lot of people don't want to commit. I feel this myself where I will be walking and I might notice something, but I'm like, whoa, like it's a lot to commit to enter the booth. The reason this works so well is that people don't have to commit. They don't even have to like look at me. They can look at it from the sidewalk and get a taste of it. And a lot of those people not only bought postcards, they sold so many postcards, but they would come in and realize, oh my gosh, she not only has a Utah postcard, but here's like the matching t-shirt for it. Having something that does not commit people to entering your booth, but at the fringes, it works great. 7, I want you to thrift and DIY what you can for your. Following that last bit, buying a new display like this can be so expensive. When I was first shopping around for one, even the tiny ones were like minimum $80. You can use Facebook and thrift stores to save costs on display pieces. Because I went to Home Depot and I bought PVC pipe like this, and not only hold a lot more than my other like this and a stupid rack, but they're also easy to transport. And then this postcard stand, it was kind of a wreck, and I just spray painted it. It was $25. Spray painted it, and now it holds way more than that $80 one new on Facebook. I really want to emphasize that you do not have to spend a bunch of money on your display, you guys. Like, you can use so many things around your house to create your display. 8, signage is really important. Not only do you want signs of your logo, but I find that blown up pictures of your product can be really effective. I personally have a few big signs, and they communicate a lot of things to my customers without actually saying a word. I don't have any text on them. First, they show what the t-shirt looks like when it's worn. Second, it tells people that they are meant for both men and women. And third, it kind of establishes a branding image or vibe. You can just tell that these are outdoorsy and colorful, etc. I find like for something like apparel, this is really helpful because you're not going to have a model other than like maybe you wear one when you're selling that day, but having photos of people wearing it just brings it to life. If you're just starting out, this is a huge investment, and like you, it's definitely not necessary from the start at all. But say you're looking for an improvement down the road. My 9th tip is to take social cues from your target audience. The question of what you should or shouldn't say to customers who have entered your booth is kind of controversial. You'll see some advice that you should like address every person who walks in and like start chatting them up and immediately pitching your products to them. You'll even see people trying to like bring people in from the sidewalk by like heckling them. Like, do you want to smell a candle? Hey, do you have a baby? I sell baby stuff. I do have a strong opinion about this, and it's mostly formed by my own experience and preferences being a customer myself. And that is, I do not aggressively try to get people into my booth or talk to them when they're in my booth. I actually purposely put my seat in the back or even like fully outside my booth when the sun allows for it, so that I'm not even like in people's space at all. And I try to keep busy doing something. Back in the day when I was doing more embroidery, I would literally bring my embroidery project and do that. And then, like, if for whatever reason I make eye contact with a customer, I would just say, hi, how are you? And that was it. I try to make myself available and present. So, like, if they do have questions, I am there. Or when they're ready to make a purchase, I'm there. But I am not automatically saying things like, oh, did you look at this? Or what else are you doing this Saturday? Just to like make conversation. Sometimes you can tell the customer does want to engage. And that's when I might ask, are you from Utah? And if they are, I show them the Utah shirt. And if they're not, I show them something from where they are from. And boiled down, my advice is really to just take cues from your ideal audience. Older generations tend to like having more attentive salesmen. My older customers usually ask more questions, will just start chatting me up themselves. Meanwhile, younger generations usually like to just be ignored. And if you've set up your booth properly so people can visibly understand what you're selling and then the prices are easy to find, I think the most effective way to get sales is to just let people shop. I see a lot of online discourse about guilting customers at market. Basically, I'll see people sharing stories of when they made a purchase just because the owner like looked so pitiful or said something so pitiful or was like even aggressive with them. These tactics that just prey on people, and it might result in sales, but you don't want people buying your stuff just because they felt uncomfortable or guilty. It's just not a sustainable marketing tactic. That's not going to bring you people in repeatedly. My only caveat for heckling people on the sidewalk is if you do happen to be giving out food samples. I personally love food samples, and it's an innocent request to get someone's attention. Girl. Okay, I'm just going to finish this video off with some rapid fire tips that just don't need a lot of explanation. One, have multiple ways to take payment. Venmo and Cash are like the bare minimum. You got to have both of those. But you can also get a Square credit card processor for free when you sign up on their website, which is also free. When you use this processor, all you just pay per sale. You pay a processing fee, which is like 2 to 3%. If you do happen to be selling food, do the samples. Like I said, I've personally bought food many times at markets because the sample was just that good. Make sure though you are bringing accompanying ingredients. Like if you sell salsa, make sure you bring chips. Don't just like dip your finger in salsa. If you're doing jam, make sure there's like bread or something to dip it into. Third, if you're outside in the summer, you're going to need something for shade. You might already have a tent, but those open sides are brutal in the early morning or late afternoon when the sun is hitting low. You don't need a fancy shade wall. You don't need to go buy one of those. You can use a sheet, you can use a blanket, okay? Fourth, I really recommend bringing some help. If you don't have a second person there, like you're going to be chained to that stall when you need to go to the bathroom or get food. Fifth, bring a portable phone charger. You will likely be processing payments on your phone and it is going to die so quickly, so make sure you have a charger. You're also probably not going to have access to like electricity, so like you need like not a charging cord, you need like a portable charger. And finally, invest in your booth over time. Don't blow a ton of money on your first market on signs and business cards, okay? Focus on just displaying your product, focus on making your products good, and then getting yourself there. Those other things can just come over time. Thank you guys for listening. I hope this was helpful, and I'd love to hear you chime in with your questions or other experiences selling at markets or buying at markets. At some points, I have outgrown markets, but I still like going to them and selling at them because of how good they are. Like, I love attending a market as a customer, and so being able to vend there and being a part of that experience is just really cool. I think it's important to be part of that community and to support and know your local shops. Thanks for watching. Bye.